As the financial crisis deepened, conflict erupted inside the Transamerica boardroom. Morgan's allies began plotting to remove Giannini from the company he had built. Sensing weakness, Jack Morgan launched another devastating stock raid on Transamerica. His power on Wall Street was extraordinary. He could move markets with a single word. Elisha Walker, a former associate of Morgan, was installed as CEO of Transamerica. The board was stacked with New York loyalists. Giannini's company was being taken from him. In September 1931, Amedeo Giannini submitted his resignation from Transamerica. California's directors were replaced. It was a stunning and deeply personal defeat for the banking titan. But Giannini was not done. He was still a major shareholder and immediately formed the Associated Transamerica Stockholders Group. He would take the fight directly to ordinary investors. Giannini traveled across America, meeting shareholders face to face, town hall by town hall. He had the genuine trust of ordinary people, something Morgan's allies could never match. At the decisive shareholder meeting, Giannini and Morgan's loyalists faced each other. When the votes were counted, the majority stood with Giannini. The people had spoken. Giannini was reinstated as chairman of Transamerica and Bank of America. The old Morgan loyalist board was fired. The son of an immigrant farmer had toppled the king of Wall Street. When Giannini arrived at Los Angeles Union Station, over 1,000 employees and stockholders cheered him. His homecoming was compared to Julius Caesar's triumphant return to Rome. In 1932, Giannini returned to his desk at 1 Powell Street in San Francisco. America was deep in the Great Depression, but he would not let a financial crisis defeat him. Giannini launched his Back to Good Times campaign, an optimistic push to restore public confidence in banking. His message was simple: trust us, and together we will get through this. The campaign worked. Under Giannini's leadership, Bank of America deposits grew by $50 million. One man's character had brought people back to their bank. When World War II arrived, old rivalries were set aside. Giannini's Bank of America and Morgan's institutions stood side by side, providing financial firepower for the war machine. Bank of America financed the factories, warships, aircraft, and military equipment. American banking became an instrument of national survival, and Giannini's bank was at its heart. By 1945, when the guns fell silent, Bank of America had achieved something extraordinary. It had become the largest commercial bank in the entire world. In his final years, Giannini donated half of his fortune to education and research. Despite building the world's largest bank, he lived modestly and never accumulated significant personal wealth. In the spring of 1949, Amedeo Giannini passed away peacefully in his sleep at 79. Thousands filled St. Mary's Cathedral and lined the streets to pay their respects. In keeping with Giannini's final wishes, every Bank of America branch remained open all day on the day of his funeral, serving the people as he had always done. It was his last act of service. By the late 1950s, America was experiencing one of its greatest economic booms. Employment was high, suburbs expanded, consumer demand surged, and California's economy grew. Following Giannini's passing, Bank of America found a new leader in S. Clark Bice. He was quiet and unassuming, but he knew banking and kept the bank growing steadily. In 1959, Bank of America made a move that would change the financial world forever. It launched the Bank Americard, mailing credit cards directly to 2 million California families. For the first time, ordinary Americans could buy goods and services without cash. The Bank Americard freed consumers from immediate savings. It was the foundation of the modern credit economy. By 1961, Bank of America's assets surpassed $12 billion. Its foresighted investments in Silicon Valley and Napa Valley positioned it for decades of growth. While other banks stuck to traditional industries, Bank of America backed California's innovators. This forward-thinking approach was a direct inheritance from Giannini. The 1970s brought turbulence. Anti-Vietnam War protests swept the country, and Bank of America became a symbol of the establishment. A branch near UC Berkeley was set on fire. As the 1970s progressed, Bank of America grew into a massive, slow-moving bureaucracy. The nimble, people-centered bank Giannini built was tangled in its own size. Competitors noticed the weakness. One of America's oldest banks, Citibank, was preparing to strike back. It had nearly gone bankrupt multiple times, but now, with a bold new leader, it threatened Bank of America's dominance. Walter Wriston became president of Citibank and immediately set his sights on the future. His privileged background gave him the confidence to take risks. He was not afraid to fail. In 1969, Chemical Bank installed the first ATM in the United States. Curious customers approached it cautiously. Walter Wriston saw it immediately for what it truly was: the future of banking. Wriston made a $50 million bet on ATM technology, installing machines across all 270 of Citibank's New York branches. Bank of America watched and scrambled to catch up. The race was lost. Citibank surpassed Bank of America as the top commercial bank. The bank Giannini built to be number one had been outmaneuvered. Being second was a bitter pill. As CEO Tom Clausen prepared to retire, he used aggressive but legal accounting measures to make the bank's performance look stronger. The real problems were hidden, left as an inheritance. Sam Armacost stepped in as the new president. a Stanford graduate from a privileged background. He knew his predecessor had left him a mess, and dramatic change was the only path forward. Armacost acquired Charles Schwab, the brokerage firm, in a bold attempt to modernize Bank of America and embrace the technological future of finance. It was the most forward-looking acquisition in decades. Then the NMEC scandal exploded. A mortgage securities company sold high-yield securities backed by fraudulent appraisals and non-existent properties. Bank of America was deeply entangled. Insiders called it their Pearl Harbor, a sudden, devastating sneak attack that shattered the institution's invincibility. The monetary damage was severe, but the damage to reputation was worse. The NMEC scandal was only the beginning. The Third World Debt Crisis, Penn Square Bank collapse, and high interest rates struck simultaneously. Crisis after crisis hit Bank of America. Sandy Weill grew up in Brooklyn, studied at Cornell, and built his fortune on Wall Street through ruthless corporate acquisitions. His specialty was buying struggling companies. Weill had sold his brokerage firm to American Express but lost a power struggle and was forced out. Now he was looking for a comeback, something big enough to restore his reputation. A weakened Bank of America caught Sandy Weill's eye. Its stock plummeted, management was in disarray, and its future looked uncertain. 2. While this was not a crisis, but an opportunity,